It is barely a month since schools reopened for in-person learning after nearly 10 months of closure, and there is chaos in classrooms. More than 10 schools have been burnt, which is a record one school in every 3 days. Tough Talking Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha says teachers will not be intimidated and that discipline is a must. The Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers is lobbying for the abolition of boarding schools due to the rampant cases of schools unrest. Stakeholders are urging cancelling than caning. Tonight we look at the state of education. But first, these are the stories making headlines tonight. Former Nairobi City County Governor Mike Sonko to spend 2 more nights in police custody awaiting his bail application ruling. Also tonight, millions of learners are yet to report back to school 4 weeks since schools fully reopened and government ordering that all learners go back to school. Plus, tonight we interrogate the runaway arson cases in schools coming less than a month since schools reopened after 9 months of closure. Tonight we ask what went wrong. Mini Mbesa is our sign language interpreter. Good evening. I am Abubakar Abdullahi. Welcome to the broadcast. Now, ODM members of the county assemblies are now demanding car grants for them to adopt the BBI report. Their demand was supported by ODM leader Raila Odinga a few days after their counterparts from the Mount Kenya region raised similar demands to President Uhuru Kenyatta. Josh Onsare begins our broadcast tonight.
The ODM boss was meeting MCAs allied to the party from across the country. Raila supporting the proposal to extend car grants to members of county assemblies.
If we can justify giving a car grant to members of parliament, why not to the members of county assembly?
Hii mambo ya car grant imeongewa hapa, Your Excellency. Let it be effected immediately. Kwa sababu hiyo kitu ndio kitu ingine ambaye sisi pia tunapata.
So don't make passing the BBI conditional to the car grant. Car grant is coming. It's a word of honor. Kutoka mtu mugwana.
Members of county assemblies from the Mount Kenya region made the demand on car grants to President Uhuru Kenyatta during their meeting at the Sagana State Lounge last week. The demand by the MCAs has, however, been criticized by the anti-BBI crusaders, terming it a selfish move by the ward representatives.
Tunajua kwamba kuna maadui walio wengi. Tungependa tuhakikishiwe kwamba kabla siasa zingine hazijaingilia katikati, hii circular iandikwe mara moja. Hawa wabunge wenzetu tuhakikishe kwamba tumeyakamilisha.
The BBI bill is now in the hands of MCAs after the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission handed over the bill to the 47 county assemblies, who are now set to debate it in their respective assemblies.
On Friday, we shall carry out public participation, and possibly by Tuesday when we resume, we shall pass this bill.
The former premier yet again criticizing the hustlers narrative propagated by Deputy President William Ruto. Raila fired back at the DP, accusing him of hiding behind the hustler narrative, terming it baseless.
I doubt there is an MCA in this room who genuinely believes that if each person in the ward received a wheelbarrow today, the people will get rich and they will be able to fend for themselves.
We have to start immediately a counter narrative to counter hiyo mambo ya wheelbarrow na hiyo porojo yote walikuwa wanaambia wananchi.
have to demystify the issues of the wheelbarrow, the mamamboga. Everybody starts from somewhere as we go up the ladder.
President Kenyatta and the ODM boss will be banking on the ward representatives for civic education on the BBI report, which has been termed as unpopular by a section of DP Ruto allies.
Signatures zimechukuliwa Kenya nzima zaidi ya milioni 5. Wanasema BBI is not popular. Nyinyi viongozi simtuambie huko mashinani signature mlipata hamkupata.
The document is a popular document. What is supposed to be done is that we must be now aggressive and market this document and release copies so that people are able to read and make informed choices on their own.
It is important that this time going forward we have members being trained, members being informed, members being taught what is needed so that we remove the myths and the propaganda going around the document that has already not been circulated to the people.
With President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM boss Raila Odinga owing MCAs to support the BBI document in their respective counties, the document will require at least 24 county assemblies to sail through. Joash Onsare, TV47, Nairobi.
Elsewhere, a family in Likoni is crying for help after their kin, Nyondo Chaka, who is a truck driver, was abducted on Tuesday last week by a unknown group of men along the busy Nairobi-Mombasa highway. Reported the incident to 3 police stations, but his whereabouts is still unknown. The family is now appealing to the county and national governments to intervene.
Toka Jumanne na saa hii simjui yuko wapi. Tumemtafuta polisi na hatujui yuko wapi na hatujaambiwa kama yuko wapi. Kwa hiyo tunaomba kama kuna mtu alimchukua, kama kuna mtu ana kisa chochote amrejeshe. Tunaomba msaada kwa kina Uhuru Kenyatta kila mahali kote kwa bunge. Pia naomba umrejeshe.
Kitu kinanishangaza ni kwamba yeye ni dereva, analeta parcels kutoka Nairobi kuja Mombasa. Najua once ile mtu amefanya makosa, ameshikwa katika mkono wa sheria. Ile gari anafanya nayo, alishikwa na dereva mwenzake. Nashangaa dereva mwenzake saizi anaendelea na kazi na gari inafanya kazi, na hakika ingekuwa saizi hiyo gari ameshikwa nayo kwa sababu Salimu ni mhalifu, ingekuwa imezuiliwa kituo cha polisi na dereva mwenzake. Salimu ikasemekana alichukuliwa na masaidi wa Taru Police Station. Tulienda Taru Police Station, wakasema hizo habari hawana. Sasa huyu hatujui ni Saidi walimshika ama ni majambazi.
Kama shirika la Kiafrika tumeweza kupokea visa hivi kwa huu mwezi wa Januari peke yake, visa 4. 2 Mombasa, 1 Lamu na 1 Garseni. Na hivi ni visa ambavyo vimeweza kuripotiwa. Hatujui ni vingapi ambavyo vimefanyika na vijaweza kuripotiwa hadi hivi sasa. Kwa hivyo tunachoonelea hivi sasa ni kwamba president wetu wa Kenya aweze kulibeba hili jukumu yeye mwenyewe binafsi ili aingilie kati huu upoteaji wa kiholela na mauaji ya kiholela. Tujue ni nani ambaye yuko nyuma ya haya majanga.
Elsewhere, former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko will remain behind bars at the Gigiri police station until Thursday, when the court will determine whether he can be released on bail or not. And as John Maina now reports, Sonko faces up to 10 counts of criminal conducts dating back to 2019.
Mike Sonko will have to spend 2 more days at Gigiri police station awaiting his bail application ruling after he was charged in a Kiambu court.
To the scene when you get your chance to respond. So Dr. Halina, please proceed.
Thank you.
Flanked by his lawyers Danstan Omari, John Hamino and Hassan Nyakundi, appeared before Kiambu Senior Principal Magistrate Stella Atambo on Tuesday. Sonko was charged with various counts of assault. Sonko denied all the charges, including assault, causing actual bodily harm, robbery with violence and destruction of property. All the charges date back to May 2019.
From the documents presented to us by the state, criminal appeal number 80 of 1997 lifted those warrants and settled the matter. And we have produced evidence that Sonko has no any pending matter in Mombasa. 2, we have also raised the question that Sonko's character should not, because of his popularity, it should not be criminalized to be popular.
The Chief Inspector, Geoffrey Ndadho, stated that the former governor committed the offences in 2019 at Kamukunji sub-county in Nairobi County. Sonko is said to have stormed the property in Buruburu Phase 4, accompanied by youths, and committed the offences. The prosecution maintained that Sonko's political influence can interfere with the witnesses and therefore he should not be bailed.
Therefore, they are looking at the accused person, Governor Sonko, with a view that his character is bad. 2, that he can influence the witnesses. 3, he is, and according to the state's own words, he got the second largest number of votes after President Uhuru Kenyatta. And therefore, he is almost invisible.
On Monday, Sonko spent over 6 hours being grilled by the detectives over his conduct and is now facing 10 charges emanating from the incident.
Before you start saying all those things. All right, so then ruling on the 4th of February 2021 at 2:30 p.m. So he remains in custody in the meantime at Gigiri Police Station. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.
His bail application ruling will be made on 4th February at 2:30 p.m. Joan Maina, TV 47.
Now let's get to our special coverage of the state of education. And it is 1 month since all learners reported back to school for second term, but a number of them are still stuck at home. Some of the parents are not in a position to afford the monies they are being asked in school for registration. Our senior education affairs reporter Sharon Baranga talked to some of them and filed the following report.
Tucked right inside Githurai Market is Dionysius Mwangi's office. He is the chairman of this area. In the last 1 month, his hands have been full as he works tirelessly trying to place stranded learners in schools. Outside his office are Lucy Wangoi and Mary Agola with their children who are yet to report back to school.
Nimekuja hapa kuomba usaidizi kuhusu mtoto wangu. Nimelemewa kumpeleka shule ako form 2. Alikuwa anasoma shule ya private lakini hiyo shule ilifungwa. Sasa tena shule alikuwa anasaidiwa. Na si vizuri mtoto msichana akikaa kwa nyumba. Si vizuri juu atashikwa labda na kufikiria kufanya mambo zingine hazifai. Na mimi mapenzi yangu ningetaka asome. Hata yeye mwenyewe kuna haja na masomo.
Niko na watoto 5 waendi shule. Nataka wasaidiwe bila wanaweza kwenda shule. Walikuwa wanasoma children home. Alafu hiyo children home ikakuja ikafungwa. Na mimi mwenyewe sina uwezo juu sina mzee. Mzee alitoroka. Ni afadhali munisaidie tu watoto waende shule. Nyumba hata naweza lala kwa kibanda. Lakini watoto waende shule.
Private kama Githurai peke yake tumefunga private 4. Saa hii Githurai. Kuna moja inaitwa Brainstorm Academy kwa 45 ilifunga. Kuna Kasami ilifunga. Ukikuja na hapa 44 za private za watu binafsi zimefunga 4. So unapata watoto wote plus wengine wenye walikuwa nasomeshwa kwa private, wazazi wao sasa hawezi pitana kuendelea na private, au wote wanaingia public.
You see, in Githurai, a number of private schools were closed after they were impacted by the indefinite closure of learning institutions necessitated by the spread of COVID-19. This, plus the harsh economic times, has made it difficult for a number of learners to report to school 1 month down the line after all learning institutions were opened. They are all getting the same responses from every public school they go knocking. There is no space. Learners are getting agitated.
Nilikuwa nasomea Glorious Friends lakini ikafungwa wakaenda ikaisha hivyo. Niko darasa la 7 shule yetu inaitwa One Can Primary School. Na siko shule kwa sababu shule ilifungwa.
Hapa Githurai hata nikitaka siwezi ingiza wa class 1 na 2 na 3, kumejaa 1 2 na 3. Hata mwalimu alinipeleka kwa class akaniambia, Mwangi, ukiniletea watoto wengine sasa utakuja ujue mahali watakaa. Unaona yenyewe kumejaa, hakuna classes.
Mwangi says a number of parents and pupils have been reporting to his office daily.
Kwa siku huwezi kosa wazazi kama 10. Na sasa wao ni wenye nimwandika. Wenye sijaweka hapa ndio wengi. Juu saa nyingine tunapatana kwa barabara, na mwingine ananipigia simu, namwambia fanya hivi, tafuta uniform, ukipata ukikosa ukuje kwa soko upewe uniform, alafu uende shule. Hata kama si uko napigia mwalimu simu.
Nimejaribu kuwatafutia, nimeenda Githurai nikaambiwa natakana 12,000 kwa watoto watatu na sina uwezo wa kulipa. Haya tena nikaenda Kamiti wanataka 6,000 kwa mtoto mmoja na sina uwezo. Sasa ndio unaona wanakaa mpaka saa hii.
Alafu serikali ningeomba pia itoe ile slogan ya kusema kuna free education. Juu inafanya wazazi wengi wana relax wakijua kuna free education. Mimi yenye najua Kenya kunanga free education, lakini kuna affordable education.
The script is similar in Kajiado County. A number of learners are yet to report back to school.
Hii ni mtoto wangu ambaye hajaenda shule tangu ifunguliwe, na ni shida ya pesa, sio kwa raha. Na naomba sana, amefuguswa na pesa 7,000 na sina namna.
Nilikuwa na dreams zangu lakini ni kama tu zimekufa zote. Naomba tu serikali iweze kunisaidia. Ndio kwenda kufanya mtihani na wanafunzi wengine.
Nilimpeleka akafukuzwa. Nikaambiwa bila balance hawezi kaa kwa hiyo shule na ni anamalizia form 4. Nimestrangu sana na huyu mtoto yangu. Kwanza aanze form 1, sijai kataa kumlipia school fees, lakini dakika ya mwisho waliniitia wakaniambia niende nikae naye nyumbani.
Recently, governors from arid and semi-arid regions reported that at least 1.2 million children dropped out of school as a result of insecurity, lack of teachers, drought, and the COVID-19 pandemic. Mandera is the most affected with 265,000 learners out of class, followed by Garissa, Wajir, Turkana, and Marsabit.
Ukifika mkubwa unataka kukua nani?
Mwanajeshi.
Mwanajeshi? Ndio ulinde Kenya?
Sharon Baranga, TV47.
Mwanajeshi wetu, good boy.
Thank you, Sharon Baranga, for that report. Our special coverage on the state of education takes a short break. We'll be back with more from the classrooms after this break. Stay tuned.
You are watching TV47, the home of Untold Stories.
Hawa ni wa John's family last week. Hawa ni hao this week. Kwani kuliendaje? Wa John's family.
Agriculture being the engine of economic growth in Kenya. Richer Fields aims to educate, entertain, and take you round the world of Rich Fields when it comes to matters agriculture and agribusiness.
It's 800 shillings per kg. What? Almost 100% profit.
We take you to the world of organic living.
Some people say organic is boring. It's actually not boring.
Strawberry farming and so much more. Richer Fields coming soon on TV47. On the grind, we bring you different entrepreneurs who give the story of their businesses with love and passion.
I'm a musician forever. This is something that is inborn.
It excites me each day. It's a field that has always excited me.
Because when you show love to your business, it will show love to you.
The most rewarding bit of being a photographer is seeing a bride able to see her images of her wedding and evoke emotion in her and just relive the moment once again.
Get to hear these stories and so much more every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Pain, discomfort, and sleepless nights. These are just but a few of the things we go through on a daily that deteriorate our health. Body Garage is here to remind you on how to love and care for your body's health.
Finding our balance. Don't worry, you'll finally come back again.
Self-care and love is the best gift you can give. Tune in every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. On Coffee with the Movie, we bring you great testimonies from amazing personalities.
Mwanzo wa kwanza alikaa ndani ilikuwa intense because alikuwa alikuwa atafuta place atawaka akifanya thesis zake.
Stories that will inspire and encourage you.
Hiyo kitu ilisha waswa ni clap. Sheila told us this is what we've been looking for.
And some that will even make you laugh out loud.
You have chapa kawa ya kutuliza temperature kabla hiyo.
Welcome back. Now, a report by the Kenya National Examinations Council has revealed that majority of Class 8 pupils performed poorly in the tests administered to them in October last year. And even though the assessment was done 4 months ago, of a bigger concern tonight are schools in ASAL areas that recorded the lowest average performances in the tests. Zainab Mohammed with the details.
4 months after the administration of an assessment test to Class 8 students to gauge possible learning loss or gaps, the Kenya National Examination Council has issued a report that reveals the majority of Class 8 pupils in private and public schools performed poorly in the assessment test. According to the report, substantial proportions of learners did not attain the minimum benchmark of 50% in most subjects assessed, pointing to low mastery of subject-specific skills and content. The report further revealed gender disparities in performance, with girls performing better than boys in languages at 51.35 and 46.58 against 49.31 and 42.85. On achievement by school category, it was established that pupils in private schools registered higher mean scores than their counterparts in public schools in all the assessed subjects, with pupils in private schools attaining mean scores of 65.84 and 71.12 against 47.37 and 55.28 in public schools respectively. In county-based performance, the learning assessment revealed regional disparities among counties, with Nairobi recording the highest mean score at 59.20% and Turkana, Tana River and Samburu, all in ASAL areas, scoring the lowest mean averages at 44.34%, 44.37% and 44.51% respectively. The low achievement in schools located in rural areas and counties in ASAL areas being attributed to inadequate ICT devices, flooding, insecurity and poor internet connectivity in some of those areas such as Baringo County. The report recommends that in order to enhance equity, the Ministry of Education should institute targeted interventions towards provision of learning resources in public schools, especially those located in ASAL areas. Stakeholders are hopeful that the grim picture painted by the assessment test results will have been overturned by the time pupils sit for KCPE in March this year. Zainab Mohammed, TV47.
Now, since the reopening of schools last month, schools had no option but to prepare their learners in protecting themselves against COVID-19. Special needs schools, however, had to go an extra mile in developing strategies for learners with intellectual challenges. But how far are they in adapting to these COVID-19 protocols? Nanok Lauren reports.
This is a drill. Again, this is a drill.
It is nearly 1 month since schools reopened for their second term. The reopening exercise did not spare schools with learners with learning disabilities and intellectual challenges. This move meant that this particular group of learning institutions were required to formulate an efficient strategy in which the learners will adapt to strategies to keep them safe from COVID-19. Among these schools is Treeside Special School in Nairobi's Kasarani Estate. The school has a total of 130 learners with special needs, including autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, among others. In a bid to have its learners adapt to COVID-19 protocols, including wearing of masks and washing hands, a short phrase including the words 1, 2, 3 were formulated, which learners are slowly but surely adapting to.
We introduced words. When we say 1, they all move towards the water point and wash their hands. When you say 2, they say faa mask yako vizuri na wanaangaliana. And if anybody is not wearing the mask well, anaonyeshwa. If the mask is down there, anaonyeshwa, inarudishwa. We moved to the third of social distancing. Especially when we are in parade, we just tell them 3. They say social distance. So you move one hand up in front, they are able to keep.
Social distancing still remains to be an inevitable challenge in the majority of schools in the country. However, for this school, they have achieved the 1.5 meter rule in their classrooms. This notwithstanding, special needs tutors cannot go a day without keenly interacting with their learners, who solely depend on undivided attention from their teachers while learning.
We are not saying that we are not practicing social distancing, but there are moments that it becomes difficult, especially when you are instructing and you are showing a child what he or she has to say, to do. You have to show the child. Now, mugusishe saa zingine. If they come to school and find a teacher is now segregating them, they become more hurt. So what do? We are trying to instruct at a distance, but there are moments we are near the child, so for the child to follow instructions, and that makes the child feel loved and continue learning.
After the learning sessions, the timetable indicates it is time for lunch. In this dining hall, there is hardly any social distancing. The size of the room cannot accommodate the number of learners in this school. They not only have no option but to compromise with the situation, but their condition also requires them to be under supervision.
The idea of social distancing is pathetic in many of our schools. Not many of our schools, it is Treeside Special School included. So we have very nice sceneries outside where we can place the learners and sit under trees. But some of them, those with the cerebral palsy, they cannot be able to keep that food on the ground and continue scooping it. So they are scooping the food when it is on the table.
In Sikri Technical and Vocational College for the Blind and Deaf in Homa Bay County, automatic sanitizing points have been positioned in a number of spots in the school to aid the learners and especially the blind to have access to the sanitizers. The school has also employed more staff members who assist in supervision.
We have automatic sanitizers everywhere, close to 40 of them in every entrance, in classrooms, at the gate, at the boarding area, our offices. But we are still having challenges that to manage special students, they need really close supervision. So we do employ extra staff that are not employed by many other institutions.
In a world where learners with special needs solely rely on a helping hand while in school, coping with COVID-19 protocols seemed like a hard nut to crack in the beginning. But 1 month later, special needs learners, their caregivers and their tutors seem to be adapting to the safety measures. Nanok Lauren, TV 47, Treeside Special School, Nairobi.
Thank you, Nanok Lauren, for that report. You are watching our special coverage on the state of education. Time for us to take a short break. We'll be back with more after this break. Don't go too far.
Agriculture being the engine of economic growth in Kenya, Richer Fields aims to educate, entertain, and take you round the world of rich fields when it comes to matters agriculture and agribusiness.
It's 800 shillings per kg. Where? Almost 100% profit.
We take you to the world of organic living.
Some people say organic is boring. It's actually not boring.
Strawberry farming and so much more. Richer Fields coming soon on TV 47. On the grind, we bring you different entrepreneurs who give the story of their businesses with love and passion.
I'm a musician forever. This is something that is inborn.
It excites me each day. It's a field that has always excited me.
Because when you show love to your business, it will show love to you.
The most rewarding bit of being a photographer is seeing a bride able to see her images of her wedding and evoke emotion in her and just relive the moment once again.
Get to hear these stories and so much more every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Pain, discomfort, and sleepless nights. These are just but a few of the things we go through on a daily that deteriorate our health. Body Garage is here to remind you on how to love and care for your body's health.
Finding our balance. Don't worry, you'll finally come back again.
Self-care and love is the best gift you can give. Tune in every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. On Coffee with Movie, we bring you great testimonies from amazing personalities.
So wa kwanza alikaa ndani ilikuwa intense cause alikuwa alikuwa atafuta place atawaka akifanya thesis zake.
Stories that will inspire and encourage you.
Hiyo kitu ilisha waswa ni clap. Sheila told us this is what we've been looking for.
And some that will even make you laugh out loud.
You have chapa kawa ya kutuliza temperature kabla ya hiyo story.
Na wewe hukuleta mandazi bro.
Mbona ingekuwa coffee and mandazi?
Aya!
Make sure you catch
Welcome back. Now, cases of schools unrests have been on the rise in recent days, barely a month after students reported back to school for their second term. The situation has raised questions as to whether parents have failed in their parenting, even as the debate on whether caning should be reintroduced continues to gain momentum. Our Education Affairs reporter Andrin Kilemi takes a look at the cases of unrests in schools.
Indisciplined learners, school fires and violent students are some of the highlights of the second term of schools. Barely a month after schools reopened for the in-person learning after a 9-month break occasioned by COVID-19. So far, more than 10 schools have reported cases of arson, attempted murder or violence. Earlier today, a Form 3 student at Ruambiti High School in Kirinyaga County was arrested after beating up a teacher, while 9 others from Ingotse High School were remanded for 14 days, pending hearing of arson charges against them. Following the widespread cases of arson in schools, Education CS Professor George Magoha is proposing for the reintroduction of corporal punishment in schools, an idea that has stirred up debate among Kenyan parents.
If you love your children, if you love your children, you should be keen to discipline them. If you hate them, then spare the rod. And in this case, I think the Bible is talking about the corporal punishment. Yes, as a parent, I would recommend that we do it at home and we do it in school as well.
Understanding ya mtoto na mwalimu. Kuna watoto wengine ni nature, ni stubborn tu. Kuna mwalimu atamwelewa. Utapata kuna mtoto ni mtundu sana shule lakini mwalimu anamwelewa kabisa. But this same child kuna mwalimu hawezi mwelewa. So there's another way of discipline mtoto, but I agree you're caning in school.
NAT Secretary General Wilson Sosion, however, says corporal punishments in schools would cause more trouble than what the country is experiencing now.
This is a wrong time to debate the return of the cane, because we have gone very far. We've put it in the Constitution, the rights of the child, under the Bill of Rights. And I want every Kenyan to remember, when we were voting the Kenya Constitution 2010, we voted for the Bill of Rights. And under the Bill of Rights, there is the right of the child.
Sosion has further faulted parents for failing to create time for their children, even as he urged the government to do away with boarding schools, which he says deprives families of quality time.
This boils down to parenting and the nature of the family cultures that we have. Many parents don't have time for their children. And therefore, when the children were at home, of course, there were huge complaints that school should reopen immediately so that these kids, they were very impatient. And the children were a burden to them. Our school system has been structured in a manner that children spend less time with their parents. And this is very dangerous.
Psychologists and counselors observe that beating a child for a mistake causes more damage to the child and may have dire consequences in their future.
Students or these pupils, we realize they start banning schools and going to what we call student unrest when they're in secondary school. So I think it will be a bit too late to start rectifying the mistake at that stage. And corporal punishment in itself feels like punishment. Feels like this child is going to feel they are being unfairly charged or punished for something maybe very minor.
To beat or not to beat a child is a debate that has continued to gain momentum, and with the increasing number of schools unrest, only time will tell whether the cane will come back to schools or not. Andrine Kilemi, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, since schools were reopened 4 weeks ago, high-ranking officials at the Ministry of Education, led by Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha, have been on the move, crisscrossing the country to conduct school inspections. The frequency of the tours has, however, been raising eyebrows in the education circles, with the cost vis-a-vis significance of the tours coming under the microscope in recent times. David Mudoka has the details.
Out and about has evidently been Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha's mantra since schools were reopened on January 4th this year. Often in the company of other officers in the Ministry of Education, 69-year-old Magoha has been on the move, making inspection tours in various schools across the country in a bid to assess their compliance and sustainability of the new measures put in place by the government to mitigate the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. The frequency of the inspection tours has, however, set tongues wagging in education circles. The tours come in under the microscope lately on whether they are doing the public coffers more harm than good.
The trips are not necessary at all, because there's no change that has been witnessed from the trips that has been made so far. We have got the field officers, the CDs are there. We have got the sub-county directors of education are there. We've got the quality assurance standards of education are there. These are employed
According to education economist Dr. Ibrahim Katete, the tours have been a costly affair given the number of officials that tag along whenever Magoha is making his trips. In an attempt to break down the expenses in card, Katete states if a single officer is paid 10,000 shillings as per diem, 20 of them will milk 200,000 shillings from the public coffers in a single day. In just under 10 days, that would amount to 2 million Kenyan shillings, enough to build 2 state-of-the-art classrooms if each is built at a standard cost of 800,000 shillings.
All this money is being consumed on trips to inspect things which are not there, which could be done by the field officers who are paid. So the cost will be very zero because these fellows are paid to do that work.
On January 5th, just a day after overseeing the historic reopening of schools in the populous Olympic Primary School in Kibra, Nairobi, Magoha swung into action, touring Githwariga and Kianjao primary schools in Nyeri and Kiambu counties respectively. 3 days later, Magoha proceeded to Bungoma and Kisumu counties to examine Bungoma DEB Primary School and St. Paul's Ombaka Secondary School. On January 9th, the CS pitched camp in Siaya County to assess the production of locally assembled school desks before calling it a day in Nandi to assess the production of the same desks by local carpenters. 3 days later, one of Magoha's right-hand men, PS University Education and Research Simon Nabukwesi, accompanied by senior government officials, visited Kiminini Primary School to monitor learning progress in the region. The following day, Nabukwesi and his post-training and skills development counterpart Alfred Cheruyot toured St. Monica School in Trans Nzoia. Miles away in Bomet, their basic education counterpart Belio Kipsang made similar tours at Kaproret Primary School and Mulot Girls High School. On January 14th, PS Kipsang made another inspection tour at Suswa Girls Secondary School in Narok, while his university education and research counterpart Simon Nabukwesi assessed ongoing projects and adherence to COVID-19 protocols in schools in Elgeyo Marakwet County. The following day, Magoha resumed his tours, this time at Muchonoke Secondary School in Embu County, to assess the resumption in learning in the area. 24 hours later, the CS pitched camp in Kiambu County, while his Lieutenant's Education CAS Zach Kinuthia and Principal Secretary Belio Kipsang toured Molo, Nandi and Uasin Gishu regions respectively. January 20th to 30th will get busier for Magoha and team. After evaluating the tumultuous return to school at Our Lady of Fatima Secondary School in Nairobi, Magoha hit the ground running again, touring schools in Taita Taveta, Kilifi, Kajiado, Kisii and Homa Bay counties. This comes at a time when some of the schools in the country are in ruins, ravaged by floods, while others remain overpopulated, unable to sustain the new COVID-19 directives issued to learning institutions, with some of the learners forced to study under trees. David Muthoka, TV47.
Now let's move from the state of education and get to other stories now. And it is now close to 8 years since Joanne Lebene was subjected to a wheelchair after she was allegedly stabbed by her lover, Ben Kiplimo, who wanted to forcefully marry her. But since Joanne declined his approach, her life took a complete turnover. Writhing in pain as a result of multiple stabs inflicted on her head and spinal cord, which led to a permanent disability. This also shattered her dreams as she could not pursue her education. Joanne has visited various hospitals, and this has led to depleting most of the family's resources. Joanne reflects with depression on the disturbing scenarios that shattered her dreams, forcing her to fully depend on her mother for her basic needs.
Nilikuwa mgonjwa kwa sababu nilidungwa kisu na kipilimo Bernard Kipilimo Keitany. Wakati alikuwa ananiambia atanioa, tulikuwa tunabishana kwa sababu anataka kunichukua kama bibi yake. Alikuwa ni mtu mwenye nilikuwa nataka kuendelea hata kimasomo, alinirudisha nyuma sana. Hata saa hizi bado ninaendelea hospitali. Nilienda hospitali mpaka hata nimechoka kuenda hospitali. Hata hivi tena vile nimelala hivi, hata ingekuwa afadhali kama ninaketi hata kwa wheelchair. Bado tu niko mgonjwa, ninatarajiwa hata nirudi kwa hospitali kufanyiwa operation. Maisha yangu imekuwa mbaya. Sioni hata sijui nitafanikiwa lini hata nijisaidie mimi mwenyewe, hata kwa familia yetu. Tumekuwa maskini kwa sababu ya hiyo hali, aliturudisha nyuma kabisa.
Lakini uchungu yenye nameona mwaka hii yote, mgongo naumia mimi, kifua naumia mimi, nabeba na huyu nasoma, na huyu amesoma kwa shida. Anabeba na yeye. Anabeba kupeleka nyumba, hata kuosha yeye, anaosha kama mtoto kidogo.
Tungeomba sana kwa ile msaada, kama kuna uwezekano, wahisani wengine, serikali na wengine wote tujumuike pamoja tumsaidie.
Well, 8 years on the run, but justice often and so often takes its time, but often the results are final, and we hope that she gets justice out of that. Time for us to get to the world of sports now. Let's bring in sportsman Dennis Otieno. Dennis, tonight, let's start with Arsenal being ahead as of now.
Well said, Abubakar. Arsenal currently are topping their match against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Remember, this is match week 22 of the English Premier League. Now, this is a story we're going to be telling you more about when the Primetime Sports Bulletin continues. Also, we shall be telling you about what the government is doing to fast-track the renovations of stadia in the country. Also, we shall be giving you a little bit of basketball action. Now, this and more coming up in just a bit. A very warm welcome to Primetime Sports. My name is Dennis Otieno, and on to the top story in sports. The completion of renovations at the Wote Stadium, estimated at about 350 million shillings, has been handed over to the National Youth Service (NYS) after Sports Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohamed terminated the deal with the main contractor, Nitram Entrafiz Enterprises Limited, over what she termed as lack of financial capacity. The crackdown to oust irresolute contractors tasked to upgrade stadia in the country has intensified after Sports Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohamed terminated the deal with the main contractor overseeing the renovations at the Wote Stadium in Makueni County. The stadium, which was commissioned in 2017 by Deputy President William Ruto, was handed over to Nitram Entrafiz Enterprises Limited for upgrading. However, according to Ambassador Amina Mohamed, the works at the stadium were 35% done and stalled ever since.
In 2017, the government decided they needed a stadium here to develop and nurture the talent of the young people of Makueni. Those young people are adults now. So they never really benefited, right, from this project that the government started for them on their behalf. We cannot do that to another generation of young people. It's just not acceptable.
The CS said that her ministry had exhausted all necessary notices and warnings to the contractor, even after the works failed to be completed after the 2020 December extension.
We have given almost 50% of the money that was required. Almost 50%. If you have 50% of my money, you better have 50% of my work done. Right? If you don't, you must have a very, very solid explanation. I've been waiting for that solid explanation since I joined the ministry. The PS Okudo, has been here so many times. It's almost become a second home for him.
While handing over the project to the National Youth Service (NYS), CS Mohamed reiterated that Kenyan contractors have tainted their reputation by failing to complete projects in stipulated time, even as calls continue to be made to empower local contractors.
And there is absolutely no reason that a Kenyan contractor cannot do this job. Half of our stadia are being constructed by Kenyan contractors. In 2 months, go and see what has happened in Kisumu. In 3 months, see what has happened at Jamhuri Park. Go to Kirigiti, it's barely 6 weeks. Barely 6 weeks. There is 10 times the work that has been done here.
Elsewhere, a contractor tasked with renovating the Karatu Stadium in Gatundu South, Kiambu County, was Tuesday afternoon in trouble after being lashed at by Industrialization Cabinet Secretary Adan Mohamed, Energy Cabinet Secretary Charles Keter, and Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Rachel Omamo, who toured the area to inspect the progress of the construction of the stadium.
Obviously, we have agreed on some very tight work execution program, and the supervisors that are engaged by Sports Kenya and those that are responsible in supporting the county government would monitor this very closely.
The stadium was allocated approximately 290 million shillings for completion, with a capacity of accommodating 4,000 fans. Industrialization Cabinet Secretary Mohamed saying the contractor has explained himself that lack of funds was the main hindrance.
What we are seeing here is, I think, some serious disappointment in terms of the progress. The contractor has articulated very well about lack of funding that has played a key part in delaying of this program.
This comes barely a week after the Sports Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohamed cracked the whip at the Kamarinyi Stadium, where she dismissed the initial contractor over the stalled project as the Ministry of Sports races against time to ensure a number of stadiums are ready for use by